Hello and welcome to the Thank Goddess podcast. It's Dani here. Today I am coming to you with a solo cast. Today I am talking about the misconceptions of what feminine energy really is. So I am someone who has been studying masculine and feminine energy for many years now, and I am a feminine embodiment coach. I facilitate women's circles. So I do a lot of work with this topic, and I noticed that a lot of people still in the collective, and I suppose this re-emergence of understanding what the masculine and feminine energy is quite new to our culture. It's something that I've only seen people really kind of understand, and still to this day not everyone understands it, but it's definitely becoming much more understood in the wider collective than it once was when I first got into all of it. And one thing I noticed is that a lot of people don't fully understand what it is, and I've got lots of episodes, particularly if you go back all the way to the beginning of this podcast, like episode 1, I believe episode 2, that can really help you understand masculine and feminine energy if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about right now. But I want to talk about just today 5 examples of things I commonly hear from women, or even men actually, of what they believe feminine energy is, and kind of just give you my interpretation of how, yes, in some regard that activity can be seen as feminine energy, but in some regards it's actually masculine energy. So I kind of want to differentiate the two, so hopefully you can understand more fully what is feminine energy. Because at the end of the day, when we talk about feminine and masculine energy, we're talking about an energy, right? So it's something that's not tangible. It's something that is not seen, right? So all of us have masculine and feminine energy, regardless if we're a man or a woman. Everyone has both energies, right? And we need to be in balance with those two energies. That does not mean that we have to have 50% masculine and 50% feminine, okay? Every single person is going to have their own unique balance of the two. So that could be 70% feminine, 30% masculine, 20% feminine, 80% masculine. Everyone's going to be on a spectrum to some degree, and it's up to you to find your right relationship with what feels good in your body, how much energy you're embodying. And obviously we're never fully in one energy, we're always swinging between both energies. But I believe certain people are more wired, particularly women. If you've incarnated in a female body, I believe, I don't have any proper data or statistics, but I would say 90% of people that are incarnated in a female body will have more dominant feminine energy, and those that are incarnated in a masculine body will have more masculine energy. Now that's not 100% of the time. Obviously we're all unique, we're all different, so again, it's finding what works for you. But with the work that I do a lot of work with women. I find even though a lot of women today are in their masculine energy, they still feel they align more, or they're wanting to cultivate more of the feminine energy because that innately feels good within them, right? And unfortunately we live in a society that is very hyper masculine. We're conditioned from a very young age, particularly in the Western world, to be in our masculine energy. So we kind of, turn down the light a little bit on our feminine energy, and then it becomes something that we're not so familiar with. Maybe as little girls we were very able to access our feminine energy, but over time we're kind of told, oh, it's weak to be in your feminine energy, it's passive, you can't make money with your feminine energy, you're not going to be productive, you're not going to achieve anything with your feminine energy. We've been brainwashed to believe that somehow it's not good to be in our feminine energy, or somehow the masculine energy is something that we should strive for. And that's very much pushed with the feminist movement, that feminist movement from the 60s and 70s. It really pushed women into the masculine And while at some level I think we did need to balance the feminine and masculine, right? Because having women just as housewives was not the answer, right? Because a lot of women felt restricted in that sense. Now, because of the feminist movement, we've swung the pendulum all the way to the other side, and now women are like hyper independent, like I don't need a man. And that is not innate to our feminine essence. And I see a lot of women struggling with burnout and stress and anxiety and a lot of menstrual issues, because our menstruation is connected to our feminine energy. So I see that being affected because women have swung too far into the masculine now. So now it's about, we've proved that we can be independent and we can be in our masculine. So now it's about striking balance between the feminine and the masculine. So today is going to be very much about our feminine energy and misconceptions that people have about what feminine energy actually is. So the first thing I want to talk about is cooking and baking, because a lot of people think that cooking and baking means that you're in your feminine energy. So if I bake a cake, then that's feminine energy. Let me reiterate. Feminine energy is energy. So it's not actually something that you do. So cooking and baking, while yes, it is associated with the feminine more frequently, and it can be a feminine energy activity, it is not, just because you cook dinner every night does not mean that you're in your feminine energy. Let me dissect how it can be feminine and how it can be masculine. So if you're cooking dinner, say every night for your family, and it's kind of become a chore, like you're like, oh, I have to cook food for my family, or maybe you've come home from work, you're really tired, and you're like, oh, I've got to cook dinner now, and it's not really something that's like satisfying you, it's not fulfilling you, it's just like more like a chore, like I have to get this done, right? I'm just cooking dinner to feed myself or my family. Not really in the moment, I'm not really enjoying it, it's just more like a chore. That would be masculine energy, right? Because masculine energy is doing something for an outcome. It's very external focused. It's very goal oriented. So I'm going to cook dinner for my family. That can very much be a masculine energy, right? We think of it as a feminine activity, but actually it's the energy behind the activity which determines if it's feminine or masculine. Okay, does that make sense? So in order for that cooking and baking to be more for us to be in our feminine energy, that would mean that we are in the present moment. That would mean like, I'm gonna bake a cake because I feel like baking a cake, or I feel like cooking something. I wanna cook like a meal for my family because I'm in the mood to cook a meal for my family, right? Or even for myself. And I don't know about you, like I'm someone who loves cooking and baking, but I find it really hard to follow recipes. Following recipes is very masculine, right? Because it's like, again, it's outcome oriented. It's like step by step, very linear, very logical. But if you're someone who cooks like me, I'm just like an intuitive cooker and baker. So I just like throw different things into the pot. Like when I'm cooking soup, for example, I'll be like, yeah, a bit of this, a bit of this. What do I feel like cooking today? So I kind of cook intuitively. That would be more me in my feminine energy, right? And particularly if like I'm in the mood for cooking or baking a cake or something like that, where, you know, maybe I've got some music on, I'm not really focused on the outcome. Like particularly, I'm just thinking now, I bake banana bread a lot and I don't follow recipes. So I always kind of mix up my banana bread. I just kind of put whatever in when I'm baking, and I just kind of hope, you know, the outcome is successful, but if it's not, it's okay. So when I bake like banana bread, for example, I'm not trying to make the best banana bread in the whole world. I'm just baking because I enjoy doing it. I like eating banana bread. I'm just kind of using my creativity to add different ingredients, like maybe a bit of honey this time, maybe chocolate. Like, I don't know, I'm just using my intuition, and it's fun for me. It's fun. There's no pressure involved. I'm just doing it because I feel like it and it's fun. And I don't know the outcome. It's kind of spontaneous. It's kind of uncertain how the result will be. Sometimes my banana bread is amazing. Most of the time, I would say. But sometimes it's just not, it's not a vibe. Like it just doesn't, like it's just mushy, like it doesn't even like hold. Maybe I didn't add enough flour, I don't know. So sometimes it doesn't work. But that messiness, that kind of uncertainty of how it will turn out, that creativity, that intuition that I'm using to bake, that's the feminine energy. So just once again, cooking and baking, it's more about the energy behind what you're doing. And you're going to see that's the theme for all these examples I'm going to use today. So the second thing I want to talk about that I see a lot of people misinterpret is creativity and art, right? So a lot of people think, well, if I'm being in my creativity, right, so just say I'm painting, that means I'm in my feminine energy. Not necessarily. So again, it comes back to, you know, the energy behind what you're doing. So for example, I'm someone that I used to do paint classes. So when I would go to paint classes, I would follow the instructor, and the instructor would say, okay, we're going to paint, you know, a bird on a branch today, and then they would show you step by step how to do it. Or even sometimes I would watch YouTube tutorials of painting, and I would copy the person on the screen. That is masculine energy. So we're doing something, yes, creativity is, you know, the feminine, right? Because feminine energy is like creation energy. But when we're doing it in like a linear, logical way, we're doing it methodically, like step by step, that's using our masculine energy. If I'm painting to get this outcome, like I want this picture that the teacher is demonstrating, that's masculine energy. It's I'm doing this for an outcome. Whereas the feminine energy, if you're someone who's like, I just want to create for the sake of creating, and I'm just like, you know, I've got a blank canvas and I'm like, and I don't know what I'm going to create. I don't know. I'm just using my intuition. I'm just putting colors, whatever's coming to me. That is when we're in our feminine energy creating art. Okay, so do you see the difference? It's all about your energy when you're creating the art. So it can either be masculine or it could be feminine. The third example I want to give you, and this is another one I see a very, very big misconception, is kind of to do with what you wear. So a lot of people believe like if I wear a frilly dress with like flowers on it, I'm in my feminine energy, right? That's feminine to wear a dress. Yeah, okay, could be seen as a feminine, but again, we're talking about feminine energy. So is wearing a dress, does that mean that you're feminine? No, not necessarily, because I see a lot of girls today, you know, they look very feminine from the outskirts, very externally presenting themselves as very, you know, feminine as in like they look very womanly, right? You know, maybe they're showcasing their curves or they've got like long hair or whatever. But those women, you know, when you get to know them or the way that they act, they're actually very much in their masculine energy, even though they look very feminine. So this is a huge misconception with feminine energy. It has nothing to do with the way that you look. So when we're talking about clothing, so just because you wear a dress doesn't mean that you're in your feminine energy. Feminine energy is very much about how you feel. So if wearing a dress makes you feel beautiful and it makes you feel radiant, and maybe you're like all flowy and I feel pretty and I feel beautiful, right? That is when you're in your feminine energy. So that's when the dress, yes, it could be used as a way to, I don't know, as a catalyst to get you more in your feminine energy, right? Because the feminine energy is beauty, it is magnetism, it is radiance, right? But just wearing a dress does not automatically put you in that category, particularly if the dress is uncomfortable. Feminine energy is very much about when you feel comfortable. It's about your authenticity, right? So there's nothing worse than when you're wearing like a really tight fitted dress, or you know, you're having to adjust yourself like every minute, or you're worried about, I don't know, you're worried about the dress ripping or falling down in the wrong area or something like that. Like that makes us more in our masculine energy, because then we're worried about, how do I look, not feeling comfortable, like just wearing this thing in order to look a certain way. So we're trying to do something, we're trying to achieve something. So do you see there, it's very like outcome driven. So that's more masculine energy. The feminine energy is very much about comfort. It's like, it doesn't matter what you're wearing, as long as what you're wearing makes you feel good, right? Makes you feel like you're being your most truest expression. It makes you feel like you're in your authenticity. And hopefully, because when you're in that energy, that's when you're the most radiant. That's when you're the most beautiful, when you're actually in alignment with your true self, with your authenticity. It's not trying to be something else or trying to be like someone else or trying to look like someone else. It's very masculine. The feminine is very comfortable in her skin. Okay, the next example I want to speak about, and again, similar themes, you're going to see me repeating it a lot, is this idea of wearing makeup. So a lot of people think that beauty and makeup equals feminine energy, right? And because we associate putting makeup on with women, we assume that it's feminine energy, right? But actually, when you're doing your makeup, right, when you're actually applying your makeup, particularly I know a lot of people do those makeup tutorials, like they're very popular on YouTube or whatever. That's actually using our masculine energy, because we're doing something to achieve an outcome. And we're also, you know, particularly if we're doing makeup tutorials, and there's nothing wrong with makeup tutorials, but I'm just trying to distinguish the difference between being in our masculine and being in our feminine. So when we are doing makeup tutorials, we are trying to look a certain way, right? So we're doing something to achieve an outcome. So that in itself is masculine energy, right? So in order to, I suppose, use makeup in a more feminine way, it would be to really become present with the moment, with the moment that you're in. And you know, if you're feeling intuitively like you want to express art with your face or your hair or whatever it is, then doing so in more of an embodied, intuitive, creative way, right? So there's nothing wrong with makeup. You know, makeup can be a beautiful way to express our creativity and to enhance our features, for us to feel more beautiful and radiant. So if makeup is making us feel beautiful and radiant, right, then that is aligning with our feminine energy. But again, feminine energy is very much connecting to our authentic self. So makeup being used to hide who we truly are is more like in a wounded masculine sense. Whereas when we are using makeup to, like enhance our features, like I like wearing mascara because it makes my eyes pop. I don't need the mascara to be beauty and to embody beauty, but I like to wear it because it enhances, what I believe it enhances, or it helps my eyes to pop. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but you know, it accentuates the features. It makes my eyes look bigger. If we're using makeup in that sense, you know, as a way of expression, and again, not doing it to achieve something or to look a certain part, but we're doing it just to, you know, to express who we are from the inside even more fully, right? And we're kind of playful with makeup, like especially if you're someone who like uses different eyeshadow colors or different lipsticks, you know, like sometimes I'm like, I feel like wearing red lipstick today, and then other days I just want to wear a lip balm. So that in itself, like if you're just intuitively picking your lipstick from like, what kind of mood am I in, right? Not following a makeup tutorial, but just like, you know, I feel like it's a red lipstick kind of night. That's more our feminine energy. Again, it's like intuition, it's expression, it's helping us to, express what is from within. But the feminine energy as a whole is beauty, right? And beauty is intangible. Like there's not one definition of beauty. So I think ultimately, feminine energy is recognizing that you are innately beautiful. All of us are. We all are radiance. We all are just innately beautiful in our natural essence, right? And knowing that and allowing that to really be your truth, which is very difficult for women, because we have been programmed for a long time that we need to look a certain way, that aging is bad, that, you know, we need to do things to our face or wear makeup or have our hair like this color or like that, or to have a certain body shape, that really goes against our feminine energy. Because feminine energy, like I said, it's all about knowing that I am beautiful from within, and that beauty within radiates outwards. And I always say nature is the perfect embodiment of feminine energy, and nature is beauty, right? Like, I think we'll all agree that nature is beautiful, but you can't put that beauty in a box. You can't say that there's only one type of nature, like there's one type of tree, there's one type of sunset. There could be thousands and millions of beautiful sunsets, all of them stunning and radiant, but you can't compare one to the other. They could all be very different, right? And that's kind of the essence of the feminine. It's beauty in this non-tangible, can't describe it in words way. It just is. It just is. And it's kind of beauty in its messiness and its chaos, and not having to be quote unquote perfect. Like, it's perfect in the imperfection. So I don't know if I've just gone on a whole tangent just then, but I really just want to reiterate that, yeah, feminine energy is beauty, but it's not necessarily beauty in the way that we've been programmed as women in the West. I want to say that our beauty is innate within us, and the more you can connect with your innate beauty, right? And that's not making makeup or anything wrong. It's just that we have to understand that we are beautiful. We are created perfectly as we are. And the more we can hone in on that, the more our radiance just shines out. And that's more the true feminine energy, opposed to whatever you do with your face or your hair or whatnot. So the final thing I want to talk about is dancing, right? Because again, this is another thing people will say dancing is feminine, because we typically associate dancing with women. More women typically do dancing than men, I would say. And then we say, well, that's feminine energy. And then also, like, people like me who do embodiment, sometimes the embodiment practices can look like dancing, right? So I think there's a bit of a confusion between dancing and feminine energy. Now, again, it goes back to, if I'm dancing and I'm doing, say, I'm following an instructor and I'm doing like choreography, and I'm following the instructor and I'm dancing to try and get an outcome, to dance what I'm being instructed to do, or I'm following a video on YouTube, again, that is our masculine energy, because we're viewing it from this linear way. Whereas when we do embodiment practices, we're not trying to dance, we're just allowing the body to move itself in whatever way it wants to express. So sometimes it doesn't look pretty. Sometimes it looks like, I don't know, really weird movement, crazy emotions being expressed. That's more true to our feminine energy. It's just allowing ourselves to move however the body wants to express itself. And often that happens in a non-linear, it happens in a non-rational, sometimes messy way. And that's actually perfect. That actually connects us to the feminine energy, because the feminine energy is non-linear, it's not tangible. And the more we can get out of the head and just drop into the body, right? And just listen to the body and however the body wants to move, not what we've been programmed, how this is the way you should move, or this is the way you should express, or this is the way you should dance. But you just move your body, even if it looks crazy. Like, no one has to see it. You can do it at home in your living room with the doors closed. No one has to see it. But if you can just allow yourself to just, whatever wants to come through, to just let it move through you, right? And again, it doesn't have to, you know, no one has to see it. It's just for you. That allows us to access our feminine energy, right? And we have so much wisdom stored in our bodies, right? And, you know, we don't have that much science at the moment to showcase this, although there are lots of studies being done that prove this. But we store trauma in the body, we store memories in the body, we store so many things in the body. And when we move in a non-linear way, when we just allow the body to do what it wants to do, and we get out of the head and we just let our body lead, that's when we can release stuck energy. We can access memories from past lives. We can access wisdom that lies in our body. And it doesn't make logical sense, right? Like, our logical minds are like, how can that even be possible? How can our body have information in it? But it does. And the more you do this embodiment practices, the more you'll find that things will be released, things will come up to be released, and it will shift you, it will change you as a person, and it allows you to be more expressed, more liberated, more free in your feminine energy, to really embody the fullness of who you are. And I think that's what we as women, or those of us that really feel aligned with the feminine energy and wanting to reclaim that energy on the earth right now, because you know, we've lived in this masculine paradigm for a long time, and now we have to swing the pendulum over to the feminine side, because we really need to restore the energies on planet Earth between the masculine and feminine. So those of us, there are many people on the planet right now that have been incarnated at this time to reclaim the feminine, the ancient feminine wisdom that we've kind of forgotten over the past 1,000 years or so. And this is the time for that remembrance. That is the time for us to reclaim our feminine energy and to really just allow it to express itself, okay? And again, it's getting out of the head and coming into our hearts, dropping into our bodies, and just allowing our body, our intuition to guide us, to lead us, and that will be, you know, that's where the magic happens. So once again, if you're dancing like to choreography or trying to copy like J-Lo's moves or Beyonce, then that's more masculine energy. But if you're just dancing purely, you know, just allowing yourself to express whatever movement comes through, even if it looks weird, it doesn't matter, then that is more in line with our feminine energy. That connects us to our feminine energy. So I hope that kind of gives you more of a deeper understanding of masculine and feminine energy. I know it's not a long episode, but I really wanted to just like, you know, just go through a few examples that I see are very commonly misunderstood between the feminine and masculine energy. And I just want to reiterate here that feminine energy is energy. It's not necessarily the task that you're doing, it's the energy behind the task that you're doing. So that's all I want to leave you with today.